I'm going to try my best to keep calling the attention of every parent that really truly claim they love their child to the need to take ownership of the education of their kids before it's too late. It's clear from everything one can see in society every day, but I think some parents are still in denial. So I'll keep doing my best. So I'm going to keep churning out this series of short videos. Hopefully you'll listen. Hopefully you'll understand the importance of taking action now before it's too late for your child. So this time around, this is a collection of quotes. So I'm talking as a product of the university system, and I'm telling you the last place you want to push your child into today is the conventional schooling system, especially the university-based education. Forget it. You need to rethink it and make sure that if your child is going to even go through that system at all, you have a firm grasp of exactly what it is you want the child to get, and you are able to check and confirm that the child is getting it. But let's not waste time. Let's get to the quotes. The first quote I want to share with you on this theme. So Robert Schuller, you can Google his name. I'm not going to really spend time talking about him. He said, if you want to be a pace-setting thinker, you can expect problems with people, especially those trapped by tradition. I'm not going to talk too much about each of the quotes, but I will love to say a few things. I have been a pace-setting thinker for most of my adult life. From the time I got into the school system at the university level, I realized that I had the ability to think creatively, and I found that it really it excited me to be able to come up with things that I saw that others had not thought of, and I found that I had a gift for it. Of course, I was not a genius on any level, but for my purposes with regard to achieving the outcomes I wanted, I found that it worked for me, and it made me very valuable. I was considered quite a useful person to have around by other people who are my peers, or even people who are older than me. So I found out the value of being a pace-setting thinker. But I found out, however, in my experience of being a pace-setting thinker, somebody who came up with a lot of innovative ways of thinking and doing things, people don't embrace you immediately with your ideas, because what you are going to tell people most of the time as a pace-setting thinker is something they've never considered before, something they're not used to, and which they did not really imagine could be real. They don't believe it, haven't seen anything to suggest it will work, so it will be your word against theirs. And quite often you will be on your own or with a few other people that believe in you, and there will be a larger number of people who don't believe what you have said is correct. So you've got to first of all know your stuff before you open your mouth. So as a thinker, you must be a thinker that has a practical mindset. All right, that's the way I've been. Okay, and that's why a lot of what I do today is quite innovative in so many of the fields I'm in. But I just wanted to start with that because the whole idea about the need for the overhaul of the education system, it occurred to me way back in 2001. I began to tell anybody who would listen that I will not let my kids go into the university system the way it was designed, and people were accusing me way back then. Everything I'm doing today, there's nothing I did not mention over 20 years ago, because I had already seen it. I felt it. I was experiencing it in my life. So I knew that I needed to have a change, and I knew I didn't want my kids to go the route I had gone educationally. So that's the first thing. You must expect problems with people, especially those who are trapped by tradition. If you don't expect that, then you're going to get a root shock. But that one is just minor. Let's go to the next quote. All right, the next quote I want to share with you is this one. If 50 million people say a foolish thing, it is still a foolish thing. Anatole France was an American shipping magnate, a billionaire. This quote, I want to use an analogy to explain it to you, because some people might not get it. So whenever I want to explain this quote to people, I try to use the example of the time when in Nigeria, in some part of Nigeria, they used to kill twins. You will agree with me that the reason why it became an accepted practice for them to kill twins was because the majority believed this was the right thing to do, that twins were evil. Alright, so P Square that we have today would not exist if this practice had continued. So we know now that they were wrong. But at that time, it was actually considered to be the accepted wisdom. People who did it were considered to be doing the right thing. In fact, they were considered to be doing what was in the best interest of society. You see how madness can become normalized because everybody has accepted madness as normal. So the person coming from another environment where madness is not considered normal is the only person that will see that what is happening is madness. So when, what's his name, Mary Slessor reportedly came to Nigeria, whatever part of the country, I can't remember where it was now, and she discovered they were killing twins, she had to go out of her way to prove to them or show them that what they were doing was wrong. Now, at that time, the equivalent of the 50 million people were the majority in that society in Nigeria. And they were saying the foolish things that twins were evil and needed to be killed to appease the gods. So, even though they were saying it, and Mary Slessor was alone saying the twins were not, it was still a foolish thing they were saying. However, it took Mary Slessor having the courage and the conviction to challenge them and to show them evidence or proof that what they were saying was wrong for the change to happen. So somebody has to take a stand. You can't expect them to just on their own wake up to realization that they are doing the wrong thing, because they are in the majority. And when people thinking together stupidly, when they are in agreement like that, it can be very devastating, the damage they can do before they realize they are wrong. So that's why some people need to speak out. That's where you have to be the pace-setting thinker, and you don't expect that they will listen to you overnight. I'm used to it. When I wanted to sell Excel Visual Basics software, when I wanted to sell Excel workbooks, I remember people told me lots of nonsense. I didn't listen to them because I knew what I had achieved in paid employment, and I knew the kind of recognition and advancement it got me in my career. So I knew that if I packaged, marketed, and presented my Excel solutions properly, I would get people that would pay me. I didn't have anybody in the Nigerian space that I could look up to for inspiration on it, but I knew that it was possible to do it. So that's what matters. Once you know and you are convinced and you are willing to do the work to get the outcome you want, you cannot fail. Success, as they say, will be inevitable for you. So it's the same thing here. The 50 million people need to be educated. The 200 and something million people, Nigerians, or I don't know, maybe 50 million of them are the ones that are maybe at that age where they could call parents, or 100 million, whatever number. They need to be educated and reorientated to understand that it's a foolish thing, okay, to believe that it's okay to send children to the university system without ensuring that what they're going to get is going to enable them, empower them to function in life as competent adults. It's a foolish thing, right? So even though many people are saying it, go to university, it doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. That's why dropouts are the ones leading us in so many areas of life, and we're still in denial. That's the crazy thing. I have another video on that, so we have evidence all around us that people who have self-taught, some people who have only primary school education, Charis, what's his name, Cosmas Baduka, we know he has said it many times, and he even did. I watched a speech he delivered in which he was telling a group of people who are going to listen to him that he knew many of them were university graduates and they were going to pick him fault with his use of English, the grammar, and he said that's the problem with them, because they were missing the point. The wisdom he has to share is the wisdom from the world, from being a hands-on person, not academic wisdom. And the academic wisdom is not going to get you financial success if you do not add to it the wisdom from the world, street wisdom. So that's the problem we have. The kind of education we're giving our youth is not getting them the right preparation for success in adulthood, and we need to change that. So that quote addresses it, that even though they are in the majority, they are still miseducated, and one person may be the only person that can save all of them. So he has to be, or she has to be, unreasonable and unwilling to reason like them, so that they can see reason and understand that they need to change their thinking. All right, the next quote I want to share with you is: the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. This is a very, very, I've frequently used this quote on so many articles on my website, on so many reports I've done, many videos I've done. I don't know if people are listening, but Alvin Toffler is an American author and futurist, dead now, of course, passed on many, many years ago. But this quote outlives him, and it's so powerful. Again, I read it: the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. There are so many people who are dropouts, who are doing so much better than people who have university degrees. Why is that? Shouldn't we ask ourselves that question? There's a gentleman, Mustafa Gajibo, in the north, who is producing electric cars but didn't go to university. There are people who are PhDs in engineering who cannot even build a bike. I mean, a bike that you ride manually. And this is a guy who didn't go to university at all. Where did he get the knowledge from? Because he went and got hands-on. You need to be hands-on, practically minded, not academic in your orientation. Nothing stops you from learning the theory, but you've got to go out and put it into use. Now, this quote is from an article that was a kind of a news report about Mustafa Gajibo, the guy I referred to in one of my other videos, who has gone viral because he's been building electric cars. I mean, it's been amazing to see the work he's doing. But even more amazing the fact that the young man is a dropout. But let me just read the quote first. BBC News Pidgin interviewed him. In the write-up that was written, I extracted the following words. In fact, many Africans are for the notion that education is the key to success. But what many fail to realize from this quote is that education is not all about being in a classroom throughout your teenage and adult years, but what you learn every day from the things you do, see, interact with, and cross paths with. That's education. But many dropouts are redefining and changing the narratives that dropouts are pushovers, hit or miss, without direction, without a goal, without purpose, and slapdash. Many of the world's dropouts are actually the ones with the most genius innovations and inventions of our time. They are resilient, hardworking, and determined to make a change through their innovations and inventions. Mustafa Gajibo is one of them. Title of this news report is 100% electric cars and the first producer of electric vehicles in Nigeria. I mean, think about it. The first producer of electric vehicles in Nigeria, something that's like, it's an amazing feat. He's a guy that didn't even go to university. Meanwhile, we have people who have PhDs in engineering. They haven't built bikes. All right, but if you look at the fact that what was said in this report about the fact that dropouts are the ones that are making things happen in the real world, it's not an exaggeration. I don't even have to mention names. You think about it, you know that this is true. Oh, he's a school dropout. He didn't finish school. He's this. All of them. Richard Branson. There's so many. The fact that the school system makes us to become so full of ourselves. We think by going through that system in moves pedestal above other people who don't go have the opportunity to get exposed to that system. Unfortunately for us, actually it becomes a handicap. I'm talking as a person. I'm a graduate, and I wasn't just an anyhow graduate from one of the top institutions in the country in a time when university education was still something. I think we could still, I mean, at that time they were telling us we still 3/4 baked or still half baked, you know. And believe me, I was best graduate student and I did extremely well. I was recognized for my first year, and yet I did everything my parents told me to do. And yet, when I got into the real world, outside of paid employment now, let's be clear, it cost me a lot. I found out that I didn't have enough. What my schooling had gotten me was not enough to survive in the world of my country. That's when I put a question mark on what I learned. And these quotes I'm sharing with you in this video are designed to help other parents before the reality hits you, before the damage is done, before you find yourself struggling, before you even have your first child. If you can get this into your heads, before you even become a student in university, maybe you can get this and begin to ask your parents, is this where I need to go, or should I go to a technical school? Maybe that's what you need. I don't know who's listening to this, but I just hope somebody will be helped with this, so you don't just follow what you are told to do, because those people telling you to do what you are to do, many of them don't even know what they're talking about. I mean your parents, and I'm talking as a product of that system. They just behave like robots, just follow each other and do the same thing without thinking what's best for the child. And I'm saying it's time for us to begin to question what we're being told to do in terms of the schooling we're supposed to get and the education that it's supposed to give us. Because many times the schooling does not give us the education we need to survive.